Alright guys, now today I'm going to show you how I made my eyeball flesh rose, I guess you'd call it, from Instagram. It's a 4D rose like everybody else's basically, but I wanted it to be a bit more gruesome, so instead of like a bubble rose in the middle, it's got a bubble rose style eyeball. And then the rose petals, I tried to make them look a bit more like, I guess like a kebab or bacon maybe. I wanted them to be kind of like ambiguous as to whether they were a flower or whether they were flesh. So I'll just walk you through it. So I'm just starting off the bubble rose area, you know, the eyeball bit. So I'm doing that very similar to how you start a bubble rose, but instead of doing it in layers and so on, I'm just going to do one big ball of clear to almost the size that I want it. So I'm just dipping it into some hard gel. This is IBD Builder Gel. And then I'm twirling it to get it to go into a circle, so you just consistently twirl it until it levels out, and if it's all on one side, just hold that side at the top for a little while and then start spinning it again and cure. Keep turning it while it's in the lamp so that it's not settling while you're not looking, you know, maybe for like 10 seconds before you stop turning, and then just cure it for the full, like whatever's recommended. So with this particular gel it's 60 seconds in LED. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'll just let you watch this and I'll come back when we come to start adding colour. Right, so I'm adding the white now. This is obviously for the cornea area of the eye, so I'm just going to cover the entire thing in white, trying to keep my layer sort of a medium thickness, and I'm going to cure this for 90 seconds once I've rotated it to make sure that it fully cures, because the white's really pigmented. This is Mega White by Neo Nails. So this is a soft gel, just a normal gel polish. So I'm just giving this a twirl now, and I'll twirl that in the lamp for 90 seconds. So I'm just having a quick look now. So I'm happy with that, it's come out pretty good. So I'm going to just pop a little bit more hard gel on just to seal that in, and then we'll be moving on to doing the iris and the pupil. Most important thing with this is to make sure that you keep it completely round, like not flat fat, not lumpy on one side. It has to be perfectly round, otherwise it'll look really weird. Because what we're going to do is we're going to flatten off the top where the iris is going to be, and then add more gel on top of that to keep the round shape. Because if you try and add the you know, the iris colour, then the pupil on top of a perfectly round sphere, it's going to end up with a big bulge. So we're keeping it perfectly round, we're going to flatten off the top, and then we're going to put on the colour. So I'm just giving this a wipe now. Just get rid of that inhibition layer so that there's no sticky, and then I'm going to pull it off this awl. This is not a dotting tool, this is an awl, so there's no bobble on the end of it at all. It's just a pure point, like you know, it's sharp, so it should come off easy enough if you use the right thing. Do not try and do this on a dotting tool, because you will ruin your dotting tool. So I'm just popping this off. And then when you pop it off, there's a hole in one side with a load of extra gel attached, and we're going to flatten that off so that that's perfectly flat, because that's the bit that's going to sit on the nail. And then we're also going to flatten the exact opposite side of that off as well. Now, I was messing about for ages trying to bloody flatten off these areas because it's really difficult to hold. I tried it with tweezers, I tried it with my fingers. Easiest thing to do was to do it as I'm holding it right now. I don't know why I'm messing about, this works fine. So I'm just going to speed this up because it took me absolutely ages to try and get it done. And I'll come back when this is all finished. Here we go. So now I'm going to stick this back down to the, I'm going to stick this onto the form so that I can paint on it without having to try and hold it and messing about. So it'll make life easy. So I'm just going to pop a bit of hard gel down, pop the bit with the hole on face down, and then cure that in the lamp. So now I'm coming in with my iris colour. I've chosen a turquoise. This is BMG. I got this at a trade show, so I don't have a link or anything. But I'm actually quite surprised at the quality of this gel. I'm really happy with it. And it was super cheap. I think it was about £3 at show. I don't know how much it is like on the website or whatever, but it's actually really nice quality. It goes on lovely. It's not too thin, not too thick. And the colours are really pigmented, like I can literally get away with one coat. And I think for some reason it doesn't seem to have an inhibition layer, which is quite nice. Like it seems to cure with no sticky layer, which is good. So I'm just popping some on a palette to finish my painting. So I've done like a little border, and then I'm just going to flood it, you know, like you would if you were decorating biscuits. So I'm just doing that now, and then I'll give that a full cure in the lamp for 60 seconds. And then I'm going to come in with a dotting tool to do my pupil. I did try and do it with a brush, but it's really hard to get like a perfectly round circle with a brush if it's small, you know, if you can't actually draw it on. So I generally use a dotting tool for things like that. So I'm just popping that on now, and I'll show you from the side in a second that you can see that I've filled up where I'd filed down. I've filled it up with gel, so that gives that sort of like more realistic pupil look. So it's now a sphere again, basically. And then I'm just going to put some more hard gel on to sort of cover it and make it look glassy, and I'm going to put it all around the entire eyeball, not just over where I've just done. And then we'll let that self level a little bit and then pop it in the lamp. Just making sure that I get it all the way down the side so that it can self-level down there as well, you know, so that there's no ridge where it finishes. And I'm going to try and like make sure that the shape's perfectly round. Just keep an eye on it, haha, and make sure that it doesn't start to all fall. You can always turn it upside down if it starts to fall too close to the bottom. A lot of the bottom will be covered with the petals, so it's not that big a deal. Right, so this is the 4D rose part. I don't like calling them 4D roses because they're not 4D, but this one actually is 4D because the fourth dimension is time, and it took some boss time to do. Just because I were messing about with the consistency and trying to get it a little bit wetter and a little bit thinner so that it was slightly soft so I could fold it. It's like I say, it's a slightly different method to what I normally do. So what I've done is I've sped up the bit where I'm making the petals, because you know there's 500 million tutorials online how to do these petals, and then I'll do the bits that are slightly different in real time. So if you want to see a tutorial on these, there's absolutely tons. Just put in 4D rose and you'll see loads. So these are the bits that I've done different. So it's just basically how I shape the petals. As you can see, they are quite a lot thinner than you would normally do them. So they're kind of like fold and flap about. So at this point what I'm doing is I'm trying to get them to connect on the other side of the eye, you know, the two thin tiny little edges, and then I'm going to fold back the petals so that it's more floppy, if that makes sense, and just sort of kind of do it so it's all over the place basically, so it looks a bit random. You don't want to do it so it's perfectly folded over, because then it won't look a flower or flesh. So I'm just sort of trying to make it look organic, if that makes sense. You can tell by my petal shaping as well, I've tried to do the same. Like, I've not done them perfect, like half moons or anything. So I'm just trying to get these up now, because it took so long to apply the petals that they were a bit harder to get off the form by the time I came to the second and third one, and the third one had completely set, so I had to chuck that one and do another. And when I'm applying the next petal, what I'm trying to do is just slightly overlap where the previous one finished. So it's going to come out in like a spiral, if that makes sense, because that's how real flowers are. Like, they don't just have 3 petals on each row and stuff like that. They just come out in a spiral. So like a cabbage, or I don't know, whatever else is in a spiral, like a snail shell. Like, it's that Fibonacci thing or whatever. So there's like a certain amount of overlap between each layer, so you just keep putting petals on, overlapping the last one a little bit until you get to the outside, and as long as you're constantly going in the same direction, it'll look really natural. So I'm just trying to adhere it at the very base and then fold the petals and squish them about so that they look all like a ribbon rose, you could say, or like I say, bacon or kebab. So because I want it to have that sort of like ambiguity to it. I don't know if it comes off, maybe it's just me, but to me it looks like skin. It looks like really, really pink sauce skin. But I like a little bit of a gory nail art. It's my aesthetic, I guess. I really like it. I like the look on people's faces when they're like, oh, they're nice, and then all of a sudden they're like, ugh, when they see it. It makes me laugh. Makes my day. I like to mix cute and disgusting together. Because this is really thin, it is springing back really annoyingly. So I'm just kind of messing about with it for a while. It took ages. It took absolutely ages. Obviously this was literally my first go at this. Oh, not my first go at a 4D rose, but at doing this technique where it's more folded. So I think I'd be a lot faster next time. I definitely wouldn't try and do it with a client sat in front of me. It'd take forever. This one is the one that was way too set. I could not move it, basically. I decided to throw it. It wouldn't even stick. Absolute nightmare. Bye, Felicia. So I'll just make a few more now. So I'm just going to continue round, adding petals in the spiral, overlapping by the same amount. Petals are getting slightly bigger, but not by much. I don't think it's necessary to make them bigger as you go out. I think obviously they need to be taller, but not necessarily wider, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to keep going around. I try to leave a bit of slack at the base, if that makes sense, because it makes it easier to fold. So instead of trying to, you know, tuck it in all the way around from one end to the other, I took one end in, then took the other end in, and then push through the middle to kind of fold it. I'm not actually trying to keep it taut. I'm trying to leave a little bit of leeway and a bit of extra at the base so that it'll, when I push it, when I actually touch it, I can fold it at the base only, and then it leaves like a lovely ripple along the edge, which is the look I was going for. What I'll do is I'll let you watch the rest. You know, I messed one of them up, but I still put it on, I don't care. It looked nice in the end, so one of them's way too thin. But I'll let you watch the rest, and I'll come back when we're getting towards the end and explain what I did after I'd created the rose, because that's not in this video, but I do have some photos at the end to show you what it looked like. So I'll come back in a minute or two. I'll just let you listen to some music while you watch this. Right, so I'll pop this last one on and then I'll let it dry. And then obviously once it's dry, I apply it to the nails that I'm wearing in the video. What I did was I put it on at an angle on the side of the nail, and then I filled up the side, you know, the flat side that you could see, with crystals, and another mini 4D rose. Because like I say, I wanted it to be kind of like cute, but kind of gory at the same time. Like, I didn't want to make it too gory. There's no blood or anything. It's not Halloween. Do you know what I mean? But I like a little bit of Halloween every day. So I just put the crystals on. You know, put them all on with acrylic. The same with the rose. So I just applied some wet clear acrylic and popped this on, and then filled around it with crystals. The nails are already top coated and everything. I didn't bother buffing them, or it always sticks fine for me. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe on the video if you can. I'm sure you can see at the moment I've not got very many subscribers. I'm quite a new channel. If you have any questions about this, I know I've not really explained much, or if you'd like to let me know what you think. Is this for you, or is this too much? Is it just me? Then feel free to leave me a comment. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Bye bye.